This is the handover for the Hobby Vantana. We'll begin on the outside of the vehicle. So when we start on the off side of the vehicle, you have your mains hookup point. Always make sure that you plug into the side of the van first of all, and then plug into the power supply that you're going to be using. Down onto the skirt, and there's a lever for draining off your wastewater supply. So this is the water that's collected from the shower tray, bathroom sink and vanity unit. Open up the lever by turning it through 90 degrees, and it allows the content of that tank to drain out. Back into the horizontal position to close off. Toilet cassettes further along. Make sure both buttons are depressed and expose the cassette. Pull up on the yellow lever and it will allow you to draw the cassette out of the van. When it comes to draining the cassette off, extend the neck out straight, remove the yellow cap, and then when you tip up the cassette, press in this yellow button, and that allows the content of the waste to discharge. Before you load the cassette back in, use sachets or a digesting chemical mixed with about 2 litres of water, and then reinsert the cassette back in, ready for use. You then have the exhaust vent for the blown-in heating system. Make sure that's not obstructed or obscured in any way. Underneath the back of the vehicle, you have your spare wheel, which is accessed via a fitting behind the wheel arch and using a tool to wind the spare wheel all the way down, like so. Above that, on the near side, you have your filler cap for your fresh water supply. Key in, and that allows the cap to be removed accordingly, and then fill up using a hose. The draining of the fresh water tank is done from inside the van. When you lift up the bed at the back of the van, you'll find a cover over on the offside, on top of which you'll find an access hatch for cleaning and sterilising of the tank, and then adjacent to it a wheel, and when that wheel is turned, it allows the content of the fresh water tank to drain off. This is something that you would need to do for winter storage. Also located in the back of the van, you have your water heater. Below the water heater on the floor, on the left-hand side of the garage, there's an access panel. When you go in behind that panel, you'll see this black and blue tap. Tap in its current position at the moment means that water's flowing through the system and it's allowing the water heater to be used. In the event of the air temperature in this space going below 2 degrees centigrade, the tap, as I'll manually demonstrate, will automatically open, and it will allow the content of the water heater to drain out. To reset it, which you will need to do for operation, you need to turn it back through 90 degrees, and at the base of the unit you will see a blue button which needs to be depressed back in to allow the unit to fully reset, and then you can prime the water heater ready for use. On the left hand side of the garage you have your gas tanks. Use one tank individually. Turn the gas supply on by rotating the wheel anti-clockwise to get the gas flow going through, and then turn it clockwise to switch the gas supply off. At the back of this locker, high up on the wall, you'll also notice a small red tap, and that's the isolation for the gas supply to the water heating, room heating system. Up at the top inside the back doors, the previous owner has attached the awning handle and tension rafter, along with some additional tools for use around the van. Returning to the passenger side of the vehicle, you have your filler cap. This isn't affected by the central locking. Open the door, ignition key in, twist, and then hang the cap on the latch provided. When you open the passenger door, below the floor on the passenger side you have your access panel for your engine battery. Below the passenger seat is your leisure battery, along with a little bit of storage. And then round on the end of the passenger side of the dashboard, you have your bonnet release. Pull the lever back towards you to enable you to get access under the bonnet. When you first open the bonnet, over on the left hand side, you have your screen wash access. Adjacent to that, you have your brake fluid, power steering fluid and radiator reservoirs. Down on top of the block, your oil filler cap, and then your dipstick is located just in front of it. Because of the position of the engine battery, if you did require to jump start the vehicle, Fiat provides you with a paddle access, which is done. Just use the tip of the key to unclip the cover, and that allows that paddle to be exposed. Positive can be attached onto that section there, and the negative can go round onto the bolt, which is located just here. So to use the awning, put the T-piece up inside the slot at the end and then begin to turn. We recommend that these awnings are used in fair weather conditions, so don't put them out if it's wet or windy. Wind the awning out to a convenient distance and then reach in and press in, and you have a spring-loaded leg. Let the leg slide down through your fingertips, and then when it gets down and makes contact with the ground, lock the leg into position. Repeat with the other side and then continue winding out and walking the leg out at the same time until the awning's fully extended. To wind it back in, fold the leg back in, it's spring loaded to make sure it's against the pelmet face, and then wind the leg, wind the awning all the way back in. Like so. When you first open the sliding door, there is a fly screen. It's important when you use these that you take hold of them centrally and you pull them gently to open. And it's a similar story when you close. At the end of the kitchen unit, you have your step switch, and that enables you to open and retract the step accordingly. There are additional light switches for the interior operation of the 12-volt lights around the van. When you first get into the van, above the sliding door, you have your 12-volt control panel, which is your guide for the internal operation of the lights, water pump, and also for the heating system within the vehicle. There's a switch on the far right hand side which will enable you to turn that control panel on, and the swivel dial will allow you to go through and choose different options which will become highlighted as you select them. You can also use the buttons below to choose. With the automatic tank control, which we're showing here, not only does it show you what water level there is within the tank, but it enables you also to turn on tank heaters if they're required for winter use. You can use the return arrow to bring you back to the head controls. Your battery level indicators will show you what condition your batteries are in and what consumption is being used, and also whether the battery charger is in play or not. Your heating controls, having made sure that you've got water purged through the system, you should be able to access these, and you are then able to choose whether you want to heat the room or heat the water supply. Heating the room, choose a desired temperature. An indicator light will come on telling you that the unit is switched on, and it will start to increase the temperature within the van. It's a similar story for the water function. You can have it set at 40 degrees, or you can increase it to a 60-degree setting, and it will warm the water to those amounts. Heating time taking around about 40 minutes or so to getting the water up to 60 degrees. Typically, if you were wild camping, you might only be just using the gas supply, but you can change the setting modes from gas to a combination of gas and a low wattage electric, or a high wattage electric, perhaps if you're away in wintertime. Or if you're on a mains only site and not wishing to use or consume any gas, there are low amperage and a higher amperage settings for just that occasion. Information button just tells you that there are ways and means of getting hold of Truma if you want additional guidance on how the van is being operated. Press return on this one and it will take you back to the main menu. You have the ability to control the radio from this section as well. Light switches. There are multi-function switches all the way through the van which will turn on and turn off lights in areas, but there are zone controls which can be set up as well, and as you go through the individual ones and select and turn them on, you can set them up on individual timers if you wish, or just use that as a master indicator for those controls. If you choose to use the timer settings, you can program them into these two floppy disk type symbols, and what they will enable you to do is have preset lighting arrangements for perhaps sometimes for evening use if you're dining in the front half of the vehicle, or nighttime use if you're wanting to go to bed and only leave a few lights on. There are other additional switches above which have an overriding control and turn on different functions within the systems for the lighting as well. Incidentally, while we're up here, this is your air temperature thermostat, and that's what's picking up the temperature. So if you are cooking, for example, you may find that the heating system will cool down because it is located directly above the hob. When it comes to using the main supply, located inside the van underneath the forward-facing front passenger seat, you have an RCD control box. At the moment, these switches are all up and on, indicating that there's main supply coming in. However, I would recommend that if you are leaving the main supply or traveling, that they stay in an off position. When you arrive on site, connect to the side of your van first of all, and then the power supply that you're going to be using. Lift up the switch which is nearest to you. Do a circuit breaker test by pressing the yellow switch above it, and it should immediately trip out, and then bring up the remaining residual switches. They will in turn connect up to a battery charger, so all the time that you are plugged in onto mains, they will give you a charge to the battery. It's worth noting that on the side of the driver's seat there is a battery isolation switch. If that switch is not engaged, then there is no feed coming from the back half of the vehicle into the front, and thus if you're driving the vehicle, there won't be a charge from the alternator going through to the leisure battery. For using the gas hob, you will need to use a gas match or lighter to engage the gas supply. Turn the valves open, you'll hear the gas rushing through, and use an igniter. With the hob lit, it's imperative that you don't close the glass down over the top. There's no isolators on these. The glass will get heated up by the flames and it will cause the glass to shatter or explode. So make sure that the burners have closed, make sure that it's sufficiently cooled before you attempt to close the glass lid down over the top. The fridge in this van is a three-way fridge, which enables you to use it on mains if you're stationary, on a 12-volt mode from the alternator when you are traveling, and a gas mode if you are wild camping. For mains operation, turn the dial to the 2 o'clock position and adjust your thermostat accordingly. The thicker the line, the colder the fridge will become. When you're traveling from A to B, you put it into battery mode, and as long as the engine is running and the alternator is driving through, then it will maintain the temperature within the fridge for the duration of your journey. It's worth noting that if you haven't chilled the fridge in advance, it will have little or no impact on the chilling of the fridge if you only leave it in the battery mode. If you arrive on a site and there's no mains hookup available, then you can put it into the gas mode. To operate the gas system, you need to push in on the thermostat in the maximum position, strike the igniter, and when the gas engages, you'll see this red needle rise across into the green zone. Take your finger off the igniter, but hold your thumb or finger in on the thermostat for a few seconds, just to allow the flame to establish. and then you should be able to release it, and the needle will stay in the green zone, indicating that the fridge is on gas. Again, the higher the thermostat, the larger the flame, the colder the fridge will become. To switch the gas supply off, simply turn it away from the gas mode or completely off, and very quickly you'll see the needle drop back into the white zone, indicating that the gas supply is switched off and the fridge is no longer operating in that mode. When we turn our attention to the bathroom and the toilet, it's worth noting that the bathroom light switch is on the outside wall. It's just a touch switch, and it will turn on the 12-volt supply into the bathroom. It's a swivel bowl toilet, so it's designed to move into any desired position. For use, you will need to have the seat up, and you will also need to have this lever on the side pulled around, and it opens up a wastegate into the base unit. Press the blue flush button and it draws fresh water from the onboard fresh water tank to give you a rinse water around the inside of the bowl. Close your lever to the side over afterwards, and you will get an indicator light coming on the right hand side, indicating telling you when the cassette needs to be emptied. Turning our attention to the cab, and both cab seats have seat swivels. It's better that you are out of the seat when you release the lever, and it enables then the seat to be turned. On the outside edge of the seat you have two paddles which enable the seat height adjustment to be altered, as well as the back of the seat as well. There are wheels on the insides of the arms which allow the seat arm position to also be changed. The cabin controls are straightforward for these Fiat Ducatos. So you have heating and ventilation controls down here which operate for the speed of the fan, temperature, your directional controls, and whether you want to draw or recirculate the airflow inside. With this switch illuminated, that's the air conditioning on. You have heated rear view mirrors on the outside of the vehicle, a central locking function, hazard light, hill descent, and also a traction control function as well. Reverse on these vehicles, up and over and into reverse, and with the ignition on and the engine running, you should see a reverse image appear on your screen. On the left hand side of the steering wheel you have your light controls for your dipped and main beam adjustment, as well as your indicators, and then below your cruise control and speed limiters with again a plus and a minus for cancelling and also setting the speed limits. The right hand stalk gives you access to your wipers as well as your screen wash by depressing the switch in on the end. Behind the steering wheel you have headlamp beam adjustment as well as a rear fog light switch, and then below, installed as an extra onto this vehicle, you have air suspension. These are set at the moment at 2 bar. They tend to operate somewhere between 1 bar and 3 bar, and they enhance the settings and the load ratios that are at the back of the van if you are full with equipment. These have compressors fitted to them, so when the ignition is on and the engine is running, it enables you to operate them and increase the pressure within the system. Obviously make sure that they are both increased equally, or if you want to reduce the pressure, press the switches down and it releases the pressure accordingly. Also on the stalk, on the driver's side, you have your rear view mirror controls. So you have a joystick and you set it in the direction of the mirror you want to adjust. You have both blind spot and main rear view mirrors, and then just behind that is located your electric window controls and also an additional central locking unit. For the operation of the blinds, you do need to make sure that both tabs are pulled in, pull them gently across, and there's a magnetic strip that will conjoin to the opposite side. As it gets to the rear view mirror stalk, section pushes back to allow clearance for that. Push them back with a firm click, make sure that they're not going to come out when the vehicle is in transit. On the side windows, it's a similar arrangement. You have a little press catch, you draw the blinds across and they magnetically connect to the front of the frame. So that's the handover for your hobby. Sincerely hope this van's going to give you lots of miles and lots of smiles. Thank you for choosing Highland Camper Vans for your purchase. But if you do need to go in contact with us, please do via phone or via email. Take care.